Two birds, two bats, crazy people. Welcome back to the Little Dog Channel. This is going to be a video about me buying a car and then selling a car. And so this is really a video I've been looking forward to doing because it was an absolute screw up on my part. And whenever I do something really wrong, there's nothing I like more than to confess it here on the World Wide Web, on the internet, so that after people see it, they can make fun of me in the comment section. And so here's the dealio. May and I had gone through this vicious rainy season a few months back, and there's this long, winding, muddy road that leads into my apartment here. And not only myself, but another guy that I know that'll at least admit to it, dropped his bike a time or two in the mud, just trying to get home. And no one got hurt, everybody's fine. But it raised my awareness that I am getting older and I am less nimble. My eyes are not what they used to be. My reflexes aren't what they used to be. Nothing's what it used to be. And so it occurred to me that I need to be kind of forward thinking. I'm still cool with the scooter, but it's only a matter of time until I'm going to need to go to four wheels, just because of safety, and again for convenience, and a little more. It would open up a few more opportunities to be able to do things and go places. So the biggest struggle I had wasn't that I was going to be spending money, but I have kind of like these 10 commandments that I try to follow while living over here. And one of them is never buy anything that I cannot afford to walk away from. And the reason I have that attitude is because I know that there's going to come a time, or may come a time, where I'm just going to want to leave. Grab Meg and go live on another island. I may need to go back to America for a medical reason. And I like to live a minimalist lifestyle. I like less is more. I have found that stuff has done nothing but make me pretty much unhappy. And I've experienced that a lot recently with buying this new phone, but that's another story. Anyway, so I was not really actively looking for a car, but I bumped into, oh, and let me stop here. I own all these mistakes. Caveat emptor. It's all on me. Nobody that I'm mentioning in this video is to blame for what happened. It's on me. Okay, so I'll move forward. Anyway, so it was crossing my mind that I should buy a car, but I didn't want to spend a lot of money. And again, I want to be able to walk away from it if I had to. And so I bumped into a couple of friends, and they said, hey, we heard you're thinking about getting a car. And I said, yeah. And they said, well, we know this guy that's got a Honda. And man, he's had it for a long time, and he's really meticulous with it, and blah, 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 blah. And he only wants 1.5, which is $3,000. And it's an older car. And I thought, well, that's cool, because all I want is a good running beater, if that makes any sense. In other words, I didn't care what the car looked like. It could have a red door and a blue hood. I didn't care. I just wanted something that had a solid engine, a solid transmission, and something that would go, and maybe cold air, and that would go from A to B. And it would be a safety option for May and I if we needed to go to the market, if it was raining outside and we really needed to go somewhere. And another big thing was I would like to spend more time going to Chatone, which is about an hour and 15 minutes away, to May's hometown to visit her family. And the scooter is okay. I can get there in the hour and 15 minutes, and I can get back in the hour and 15 minutes. But where the safety issue kicks in is I'm very cognizant of the weather changing out here. And so it might be bright and sunny right now, and we could drive all the way out to see her folks. And then on the way home, as we get halfway there, here comes the rain clouds. And that is just not fun. It's not safe. I wear glasses. I have to take off the glasses. Now I can't see real well. And so that was kind of another motivation for wanting to get the car. and it would be a grocery hauler and this and that and the other. So I was in the car business for 40 years. I should be the expert on all of this, right? The thing is I didn't spend any time as a used car manager. I was in the finance department, so I probably know less about cars than the average guy watching this video right now. But the persona is, well, Paul worked at a car dealership. He knows everything there is about buying a car. And so I'll take that beating. Anyway, I told myself, so I heard about this car and I agreed to meet with the guy, and he brought it over to look at. And it was a Honda. It was an older Honda. And it looked real nice. The guy looked nice. And so usually a guy that takes care of his appearance, he works out with weights, he eats the right foods. I had heard that he was always very attentive with this car. It was a Honda, and it looks like Hondas and Toyotas, those are always the reputation of being bulletproof. And so I just kind of glanced at the car and I asked him, how much do you want? He said, I want this. And I said, okay. I didn't even naggle with the guy. I'm past all that. It was a fair price. I was happy with the car. And I made one request. He had said he had some things he needed to do that needed to be repaired on it. And he was going to take care of those repairs before he sold it to me. Well, that was another positive move, right? So that a couple of weeks went by and we agreed to meet, and I checked the paperwork. It was indeed his car. He indeed had owned it for like the last 7 or 8 years. And I said to him prior to buying it that I wanted the car for one day so I could take it to my mechanic and have him look it over. And then he would give me the yes or the no. And the guy had no problem with that. He said, sure, rock on. So the day came. He brought the car over. We met at a neutral place where my friends were, and we went out, and I had the money on me, and I looked at it, and I drove the car a little bit, and the air wasn't really cold. It was cool, and the steering was a little bit funky, but I figured I did know enough that those two things could be addressed and handled. And so I skipped the part of taking it to my mechanic. I was lazy. I just wanted to get it over and done with. And so we did. Went and got to the attorney. We did the transfer. I paid the money. I got home. I took it to my mechanic, and he didn't say anything because I didn't ask him. He was too polite to say anything. But I said, the air's not really cold. He said, I can fix that. I said, yeah, I figured you could. And I said, and the steering's a little goofy. And he said, okay, we'll take a look at that. So he had the car for 2 or 3 days, called me up. And it was about $100 later that the air was blowing ice cold, and the steering wasn't perfect, but it was a lot better. It was, easier to make a U-turn and stuff like that. And so I didn't question him. It was a Honda. And so I drove it home, parked the car. May went out and did a bikini car wash, of course. Everything's a video opportunity, right? And so she did that. She got some girls in bikinis, and they ran around and washed the car. And then the air was ice cold. And then I drove the car to go get some coffee with a friend. And what do you know? The engine light came on. And I said, well, that's not good. And then the car started to get kind of sluggish. So I took it back, long story short, I took it back to the mechanic. And what it turned out to be was that the car had originally been a right-hand drive car. And they had moved the steering wheel from the right to the left, and that had never even occurred to me. And they do that with, what are they called? Multi-cabs out here. And I'd been in a multi-cab before, and for some reason they cut them and they move everything over, they bring it over in pieces. And I knew that existed in multi-cabs because I'd driven one before. But I had no idea that had happened to this Honda. And the bottom line is, it screwed the entire car up forever. It's never going to be right once you make that kind of a move or transition. And that was what was wrong with the steering, because it didn't have the real rack and pinion underneath. There were these other bars, and one of them was too long, and they had to put a shorter one in. And when we got into it, so I found that out, and that was a big disappointment. And then we looked at why the engine light was on, And he got deeper into the vehicle, and he said, this is going to be expensive. You've got an oil leak, you've got a gasket that's blown, you've got this, you've got that. And I was actually prepared to put $1,000 into the car because I thought if it was, I bought it that cheap, then I could afford that much money to make it really nice and basically not appearance-wise, but mechanically. And he said, you know what, Paul? The guy was super honest, by the way, my mechanic. And he got another mechanic over to consult with that knew even more. And they said, we'll take your money and we'll fix all this stuff for you. But just being honest with you, bro, after we do that, something else is going to break. And then something else is going to break. And then something else is going to break. Moral of the story, if I had driven the car to him, like I said I was going to, he would have told me that all up front, and I never would have bought the car. But I skipped it. I did not take my own advice. So that's kind of the tale. How bad a beating was it? Well, I paid 150,000 pesos for it, which is about $3,000. The boys, when I say the boys, the two mechanics that were looking at it, I go, can you sell this car for me? Because I don't want to screw with it. And they said, yeah. They go, what did you pay for it? And I told them. And collectively, they both went, oh, that's good. They had thought that I had paid like $6,000, $7,000, $8,000 for this vehicle. And so, long story short, again, they had the car for a couple of weeks. They called me up and they said, we've got it sold for you, but it's at 1.4. And I said, deal. And I gave them a commission. And so that's the story of the car. Now, the last part of this is, am I disappointed? I'll tell you what I'm disappointed about. I'm not disappointed that I bought the car and screwed up. It's one of those learning experiences. They were also able to give me, the mechanics, when I say they, advice on what type of car to buy and how much I should expect to pay. And so when I get ready to pull the trigger again, which will be in the near future, I'll be going through them and this will be a lot smoother transition. But here's my biggest disappointment. After I bought the car, May said to me, I really am excited about going to visit my parents in the car. And I said, yeah, that'll be a great experience. And I said, to see the kids and to see your sister and visit with your mom and dad. And she said, yeah, but she says, there's one other thing. She says, I told my dad about this and he's really excited. And I said, what's he so excited about? She said, well, he's never been in a car. I said, what do you mean he's never been in a car? And she goes, no, he's never sat in a car. And I said, it didn't register. I said, you're kidding me. And she said, no, he just wants to say that he sat in a car. And again, it just struck me. I said, wow, spoiled American. Kind of brings a little tear to my eye when I tell you this story. Her father has never sat in a car. And I thought, you know what? I wish to hell that car had lasted for a couple of weeks because I would have driven it out to Chaton. I would have got her dad in that car. And not only would he sit in it, but I would have made sure that me and him drove into town, rolled the window down so everybody could see him. And we would drive through all of their little town where everybody, all the neighbors and all the people could see him sitting in the car. And maybe pull up and, because he has a little tobacco business out there. And maybe we go by there or stop off and get a beer together and just kind of let him tool around in the car with the air on. May said that she offered him one time to like hire a taxi or something. And he said, no, I don't want to get into a taxi. I want to be in a real car that's real. And so I look back and that's my car story. So you guys can make fun of me in the comments, but I'm looking forward to the next car that I buy, so that we can fulfill May's father's dream, which is just to sit in one. All right, guys, I'll see you next time.